All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. For those of you who haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is benevolence for all in alignment with the highest levels of love light. And I'm just going to go into a little flow. I did a few energy updates in the last couple of days. And again, it's constant updating because things are constantly changing. Um, and I think that's kind of the theme is can we stay in the flow and just not get stuck? And so I'm just going to go into a little flow and see what comes through. So I'm just going to tap into my higher self, my highest aspect. And I wanted to share about that. So I'm just going for it. As we have been expanding, I mentioned this in a few videos, our relationship with our guidance team and who we connect with changes as well. And for myself, I feel like it's becoming more and more of just being in meditation. So the more I stay in flow, the more I am my highest aspect, and the more I operate from that field, that presence, so to speak. And it's no longer, it's more streamlined, it feels like. And when I'm not in flow, it's really obvious. It feels very sticky and I feel in resistance. And so that's kind of the message that's been coming through quite frequently is it's when you're in a constant form of meditation, and I want to just touch on this briefly before I go into flow. A lot of people think that they have to go to a cave and go into complete silence when they meditate, and that might be great for them. Sometimes I do that too, not in a cave, obviously. I've done that in many other lifetimes, I'm sure, but just going into quiet and sitting outside and just being with nature can be meditation. But you can also be in a constant form of meditation just by being present and seeing the beauty in the people around you. Or, I mean, you can be in meditation while you're going into the grocery store, while you're cooking, while you are going for a walk. And it doesn't have to be this rigid way that a lot of people have thought mentally that we need to get someplace in order to. So what I'm trying to get at is I feel that a lot of people feel like meditation is about getting somewhere, getting out of who we are now. And it really isn't. It's, from my perspective, we can just be in a constant stream. And when we're in that space of meditation, the in between space, the mediating, right, we are then just present. And it's a lot easier to stay in that space when we incorporate it with our everyday actions and interactions. So I just wanted to share that a little bit. And I will also share, that doesn't mean that I don't listen to binaural beats and go into meditation and all of that as well. But I feel strongly that it's that combination of doing all of those things in a walking way, in a waking way, that really is where we're at as energetically, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna go in a little flow about. So I invite you to take a deep breath in and a long exhale. We'll do a little toning. And there are many paths in the way of the master. There are many paths that one might decide to take. And the word that came through at first was follow, but then they told then the other aspect is we're not necessarily meant to follow in any path anymore. That's kind of an old mentality. What they're sharing with me is that we're creating this path. And all of these ways of the master are all optional, optimizing our many directions, our many different ways of directing our course in our new course. And they're showing me that some of us are in teaching mode where we're leading by example. Others are finding their course. Others are creating a course for themselves. And they're just showing me like like a golf course. They're showing me it's a game, and how we choose to play the game is really up to us at this point. Much has changed in the directional flow of where we were headed. Many of us may feel off course, or may have felt like we were thrown or taken off course. And this is okay, for the course is no longer set in stone. It has been quarried, like a quarry, Q-U-A-R-R-Y, I think. We are quarrying, asking questions, and receiving answers in a multiplicity, multidimensional, lots of plays on words here, guys. So they want me to play with multiplicity a little bit, like apply, we're more pliable. Much of this can be applied that we have already learned from the many courses that we have already taken. So at this point, while some of us are still learning, many of us are being asked to step up by ourselves and recognize that we are not really thrown off course. We have been pulled into a different direction, because this new direction is more in alignment with who we are becoming in moment-to-moment interaction. When we are interacting, okay, so they're showing me a lot of different pictures here, but a lot of times I'll refer to this as our stage, right? Some people refer to this life as a game. I'm looking at it as a stage that we're actors in, and we get to choose who we act with on stage, because we are setting the stage, because we are choosing what scene, we're choosing what theme, we're choosing if we want to step off stage and interact with a completely different way of being. And some of us I see the stage just disappearing. And there's people that I get goosebumps to that. A lot of people are not sure who they are anymore. They're feeling like they've lost their direction. And because they're used to following some teacher or something or some habitual pattern. And what the guides are showing, or what my higher self is saying, or what we're saying, is we are our higher selves. We are the masters. So rather than needing to follow some map that had been laid out before us, the map is still there. It's just a matter of feeling into our own expansiveness. And actually, I had a session, I'm having a session with someone today, and I will go into asking, what can I share with this particular light worker that might be, that's for their highest benevolent, highest good right now. And that was kind of a message for the collective that came through. It is about finding that new direction. And when we feel more multidimensional, we recognize that there isn't just only one. And sometimes that sense of expansiveness can feel a little scary. It can feel a little overwhelming, because we may not be sure, like, well, what project do I focus on? Well, what social group do I interact with? Well, what family member, everything is shifted. If we were used to being the caregiver or taking care of our family or being the example, that's shifted. And if we were used to being a particular, following a certain role or order in our work environment, that has shifted, because everybody else is shifting too. And so it's following our own leader. Following the leader is gone. We are the leaders. So stepping into that with love and with grace, and admitting where we are sure is okay too. Because when we admit that we don't necessarily know where we're going, that is surrender. And I know that there's a difference between saying trust or having faith, and surrender, but I'm just using those as terms right now. That's kind of the phase that we're in from what they're showing, is just let go, surrender to joy, gratitude, grace. Because when we feel, and that's it, everything tends to open up and unfold. It's almost like we're standing in front of all these doors, and they're all open. They keep showing me over and over again this buffet table that we're sitting at. And there are people who are, have you guys ever seen the movie Hook? It's this old movie, like old Peter Pan movie. And I remember there's this scene in the movie, and this is taking me back quite some time, but the kids don't have any food. And then all of a sudden, I think they use their imagination, and all this food just appears in front of them because they're using their imagination and they're playing with it. And or Peter Pan uses his imagination, or somebody does, I don't remember. But there's going to be those people that don't believe that that's possible. And what they're also showing me is those naysayers, that's okay. They can sit there and cross their hands and not eat at the buffet because that's their choice. You can lead a horse to water, right? That doesn't mean they're going to drink. And we aren't being asked to lead them by dragging them, and they're already at the table. We are being invited to lead by example and just be in that space of meditation and joy. And when we act from our own path of least resistance, right? Opening up to, it's not just about the heart, it's about, can't remember what the name of it is other than coherence. I use that word a lot, but there's another science-based term for it. And essentially, I think it's implosion. It's like we're just there. And all of a sudden, when we're imploding this energy, our brain syncs up, we get out of our heads, we're able to see all of everything that's been laid out in front of us from multidimensional perspectives. And then we see all this food in front of us, all this abundance. That doesn't mean we have to eat everything on the table. But being aware that it's there is part of where we're at right now. We're being invited to recognize that the doors have been blown off. There aren't any more doors that we have to, like several months ago, it was about we were getting portals and going through doors and being given an opportunity. And while some people are still going through that, because we're all in different stages of development, we're all existing in multidimensional realities. Somebody else might be sitting at that same buffet table and they're stuck in 3D. Because from my perspective, 3D and 5D are like overlapping, or I don't know what the word is, but it's like a nesting doll. So oftentimes other people, we're not, it's like that whole idea or that concept that we don't see it. It might be right in front of us, but if we're crossing our arms and we're not open, then we're not going to see that it's right there. So anyways, take the time to recognize that there is no time constraint. The only beings that are holding us back from ourselves are ourselves. All that is around us, all around us. So there's a lot of play on words here. They're showing me like circles. They're showing me the wheels. They're showing that if we stand, we can look around us. So some people are just looking forward. Some people are turning around and looking backwards. Oftentimes people are looking at what they've lost behind them, rather than recognizing what's been laid out. All of these opportunities that they're missing from their periphery. And other people are too busy looking, and they're not just allowing everything to unfold. Again, I use the eye of the storm a lot. If you're in the eye, you see everything swirling around you. Time is what they're showing me. And I keep hearing that David Bowie song, or Ziggy Stardust, I don't know which one but it was time can't change me. Time can change me, but I can't change time. That's no longer the truth. We can change time. It's already happened. So our aspect, some of us are still 1 foot in going, well, this isn't possible, because it is possible. Anything is possible. So they're just inviting us to let go of that old impossibility, improbability, be in improv, be in more improv ability. We don't have a script anymore. We don't have to read what somebody else has written for us. We've written our script and it's been changed. So if it's not there in front of us and we don't have some guru to follow, or we don't have somebody that's leading us, improv. What seems like it would fit more right now? Because that old script, that person that was written in your old script isn't there anymore. So you got to work around it, is what they're showing. And as we come into this new field of existence, as we improve on these old paradigms, as we play with our new they're showing me co-workers, they're showing me different actors, they're showing me different opportunities that are knocking, they're showing me don't knock the old opportunities. That doesn't mean we have to follow those old opportunities anymore. It's okay, we're abundant with opportunities. And they're inviting us to change the word on score, keeping score, and they're playing with all of this as an acting, like Martin Scorsese, like let go of the score. Those are old movies, no offense against his movies. I'm just sharing that as like a play on words. Like, you're the director now, you're the one, and the score has a new meaning. So I'm going to pause this just for a moment. So I stopped just for a second because score has been coming up a lot, not only with keeping track of time, keeping track of value, keeping track of who did this and who did what. They're showing me that if I look up score, like the definition is the number of points, goals, runs, etc. achieved, right? By a team or individual. But they're also showing me gain, and they're showing me that it's a group or set number. And then they're showing me, this is on the definition, orchestrate or arrange. So the quartet suite was scored for flute. So it's like lots of meanings. I'm sure you guys can follow what that's talking about. But essentially, that's all shifted. So how we keep track of things and how we keep score, and we don't need to keep score. We might be the flute 1 minute, and we might be the bass player the next minute, or I'm using us as an example of the instrument. We are the instrument of our own orchestra, orchestrating our events in our lives based on our tune, our attunement in harmony, right? With many as one. And I've written about this a lot in Flow, on my blog at Keep It Simple Starseeds, at carrieavonboth.com, but also on Keep It Simple Starseeds on Instagram. So I'm seeing all of this as a common theme. And what they're inviting us to do is listen to the tune, listen to the new harmony. We may not have thought, based on our old perception or conceiving, our old conceptions, our old concept, right? We are being rebirthed. We are a new version in every moment. It isn't just, okay, now I'm a new person and I'm going to be this way for the next 6 months. That might be a choice that you make to interact in that way with time. But if we expand even bigger than that, I'm going to be different in 5 minutes maybe, or that's even limiting. I just am. So what might have applied for me, even as I speak these words, may be different application for me in no time, in moment to moment. Poof, gone. It's almost just this way of just being. So as we let go of this need to keep track of things, as we let go of this need to set these little increments aside, Sometimes we need to do that. Some total, S-U-M, time, right? Big plays on words here. We may need to create increments for ourselves to reset our button. But from all of this new aspect, everything has been blown out of the water. Like, if you look at water, they're showing, I could go into this, I'm going to need to go back to this video and the last 5 videos that I've done and write all of this out, I think. But they're showing me that water is a frequency and it holds a vibration. And if you change that frequency, the shape of the water changes. I've referred a lot to Dr. Masaru Emoto. I believe it's The Shape of Water. No, that's a movie. But just look up his work. I also subscribe on Instagram. I think it's Ben Carroll Music. And then there's another person who has all of this information about water. Ooh, and I just had that reminder. I never put the teachers. So I'm going to add some information to these videos this weekend on some teachers, other teachers to my last 2 videos on the description. And I'll add, I think it's Ben Carroll Music. You can look at the people I subscribe to on Instagram and you might want to check it out. He posts a lot of really cool things about vibration and sound. But either way, it's harmonics. And what's happening is our body is mostly water. In addition to that, what we interact with from what I see is plasma. So I visualize plasma and water being very similar. And what happens is it all holds a frequency. So we've basically been rebirthed in this new world. How we interact with it is our choice. If we're choosing to continually play the same instrument, keep the same score, play in the same game, then we aren't going to see the abundant chords that are being presented to us. Everything around us is inviting us to step it up. And I don't mean that in a linear way, although it could be taken that way. But it's like you have the capacity to play in a beautiful symphony, instruments that you've never experienced, so to speak, before. And let the old concept, how we used to, well, we can't do that until we've done this. Why not? So I'll share perhaps in another video what I mean about that. Like, for those of us out there watching this that are healers or light workers, well, everybody's watching this as a light worker, right? If you resonate with that. Even our modality, I use Reiki as an example. I am a Reiki master. That was a certification that I achieved, right? I'm going back to SCORE. I scored that by going and receiving an attunement. I can then attune others to become Reiki masters as well. And this is nothing against Reiki. I love the fact that it broadened my horizon and it introduced me to a field that I wasn't used to playing within before, or so on and so forth. That has shifted for me. I still put that on a description of who I was because I hold it, but meaning in a 3D, 4D world, I found it very useful. And people hear Reiki and they go, oh, okay, I know what that is, kind of, right? That is not what I do anymore because I have blown the doors off of it, and I'm so grateful for it. And I utilized it as a stepping stone to then realize and recognize, right, more of who I was. But on a multidimensional layer, it's like there's other things bigger than that. So, and that's okay. It's not like I'm saying Reiki doesn't exist anymore or it's not important. For some people it is, depending on where we're at. For myself, from what I see, I'm already a Reiki master. That's one modality, right? And I'm clearing that I am all that I am. So all that I am is bigger, 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 bigger. Not from a linear aspect, but I'm connected directly to source. So source energy, yes, that was a tool. That was an instrument I chose to play in a particular orchestra and a certain harmony. But now I've expanded and I'm tapping into more resources, different tunes, different attunements to my quantum self, to my multidimensional aspect, which utilizes all kinds of things, all components, many different harmonies, many different strings. So I'm using that as an example to explain the light workers out there. Some people feel a little lost sometimes because literally things are changing so fast because it's already shifted that we feel sometimes like, well, I'm going to follow this direction. You know, I'm going to follow the steps of fill in the blanks because that's what I know. But we're being invited to step up, to step out of our old architecture, our old mapping system, and play in a bigger symphony. So that can be a little disarming. They're showing me like discordant, and again, that's a habit for me saying they. Who are they? It's me. It's us. It's my guidance team that I am hanging out with on other dimensions, right? That I am. So I'm getting a little multidimensional here, but I wanted to share it in this way because we're bigger than we think we are. Feel into that, trust, or better yet, recognize, have faith in the idea, in the new concept, in the, they're showing me immaculate conception, in the infinite conception of all that we are. And the more we just allow ourselves to be in this space, the more we allow things to unfold in an organic, right? And they're also playing with that orgasmic, in this completely morphing organism, morphogenetic, morphonetic, morphing in our genetics, right? Allowing ourselves to see from this higher expansiveness, being reborn moment to moment, again and again and again, and being okay with that. And recognizing that I may not know in this moment what's happening. I may not be able to put words to it because words cannot hold the patterns and the frequencies that we're constantly plasmorphing into. It's like, I just read an article about Shakespeare. If you guys have looked at Robert Ward Grant, he's talked a lot about it. I think it's D-E-E. I can't remember what his first name is. Dan Winters talks about this. And essentially Shakespeare created all these new words that didn't exist before. So who made Shakespeare the expert? We're being recognized to recognize that we are the Shakespeares. He was just tapping into all that he was from a higher vantage point, and he brought that to the table. So we are being invited to stop saying, well, I'm no scientist, but, or I'm no this, but. We are all of that, and we are tapping into all that we are. So recognizing this and not being afraid of it because it's fun. So as we unite in this divine union of oneness with all that we are, we utilize these new tools to assist in stabilizing, in bringing to the table, right? And they're showing me this stabilizing is about like anchoring those frequencies in, and they're showing me it's a new table, right? So this also is in reference to elements. There's a lot of elements that we haven't discovered that are being presented to us because we weren't able to see them before. They were always there from one perspective, but now we're coming into a times tables where we're multiplying, we're multiplicating, and we're no longer placating the old play, the old station. It's like our docking system has changed, has expanded. So we're blowing all of that out of the water again and again and again and again. So we're multiplying, we're multiplying, we're multiplying, we're multiplying. In a multidimensional, in a multi-fractal reunification. So they keep showing me the rows, the patterns on the rows, and implosion. I've also had a lot of references to hydrogen, but also I didn't know that's what I was referring to, and I'll be writing and updating my blog on this very soon. I keep saying that, but things just keep happening so quickly that sometimes we feel like we can't keep up, and that's okay. Because as we feel like we can't keep up, it's really only because we're going up, we're expanding out. And what was important 5 minutes ago may not be important in this moment. And then we might circle back around and then bring those to the table when that opportunity presents itself. So that's another aspect of time. The quantum field that we are playing in is quantifying in complete reunification with all of our aspects. So we are being quantifying, quit denying what we are, quit denying and blocking. And they're showing me blocking out time. So it's like quit blocking these things in these units that are no longer holding water, right? The water has flushed, flowed through, cleansed it out. So open, open, open. I'm going to end on this note because I could keep going, I think, on this. But again, this is good for now. And I'm so grateful for you guys sharing in these moments with one another and with myself. And in love and light, guys, I will do my best to update the comments section on the last videos I've posted because I do have other teachers to share. If I forget to add that in the comments on my videos that I just did 2 videos about relationships, was part 2. And then the previous video was a little bit more inflow video. Just go look at who I subscribe to on YouTube. You can go on this YouTube channel. It'll show, and I haven't created all my playlists, really updated them in a while. Those are kind of old. But if you go to the end, you can see the last option, I think, is who I subscribe to. And I subscribe to a lot of other people who inspire me, or people who I've worked with and connected with, who are also bringing to the table a lot of the same things that I bring to the table in a different way. So you guys are just more than welcome to go on to that and not follow, wait for me to post it, because I get a little bit lost in my Alice in Wonderland. And I just wrote about this, All Who Wander. I did this on my Instagram, Keep It Simple, at Keep It Simple Starseeds. All who wander are not lost. It's not a matter of wandering. I'm just being kind of just going with the flow. So we sometimes have to follow that rabbit trail on our own. And what I'm also recognizing is sometimes these things come through in code. Sometimes I'll write up information for a session and it's very direct and specific. Other times it's very Alice in Wonderland, because when I present it in that way, whoever I'm working with is being invited to follow that trail. When I first started getting these messages, they weren't direct, because my guidance team and the way that my higher aspects communicate aren't just linear English. They are plays on words. Shakespearean, perhaps, is one way, and I'm not comparing myself to Shakespeare, but it's just like if we read the Da Vinci, you know what Da Vinci wrote, they weren't always linear, because we're not operating in that field anymore. So if you have something that you feel like following because it's fun, go for it. It might take you down a new trail and expand into a new orchestra and allow you to play in a different aspect that you weren't even aware that you were tapping into. So, in love and light, namaste. Have fun playing.